They fail because they keep aiming at the wrong target over and over for years on end. What we're going to discover is that who you are is actually a layered system. And if you don't know which layer you're dealing with, it doesn't matter how hard you try. It doesn't matter how many tactics or tips you implement. It's just not going to work. So in this episode of Solved, we're going to talk about why your brain is actively working against you every time you try to change, and why insight, self-awareness, and understanding your patterns on its own can be almost completely useless. We're going to talk about why the most popular personality tests in the world, taken by millions of people every year, predicts almost nothing useful about you and what actually does. We're going to talk about the real reason you revert to your old self every time you go home for the holidays and why it has nothing to do with how triggering your parents are. We'll discuss how the world came to misunderstand the most famous psychology experiment about self-control and what the researchers were actually arguing for. We'll get into why trying to suppress a bad habit is one of the most reliable ways to make sure it sticks. We'll talk about the one category of change that is faster, deeper, and more permanent than anything else in psychology, and the 4-step pattern behind every single case of it. And we'll talk about why harrowing, traumatic events often lead to the most durable change in your life. The argument that we're going to make in this episode is that you're not stuck because you're a lazy sack of shit or cosmically cursed, but because you've spent years heroically trying to change the wrong layer of yourself. We're going to point you to the right layer and then give you the actual practical steps to change. Because once you understand which part of you actually needs to change, it stops feeling like a character flaw and it starts feeling like a problem with an actual solution. One that does not require you to wake up at 4 a.m. and inject exotic vegetable juices directly into your bloodstream every day.